Okay, and so deals started being made between them, right? Food for clothing, food for obedience, food for saying certain words. Did any of this really have an impact on her, or like the no spoon or fork, and what kind of an impact would that have to be forced into this basement without a blanket? It's cold. We were in the mid of winter at the time he had captured her, so she's stuck down in this basement. She's chained down there on a dirty mattress without a blanket, without heat, without anything. And now she's being given options to eat for obedience and stuff like that. How would this have affected her mind in this strong-willed person that we had already come to see?
So that then turns into the will to live, the will to survive, and what one is willing to do in order to survive. So that kind of overrides pride, since a subconscious guttural need to stay living and breathing and eating. So whatever she needed to do to get to that, sometimes she did easily, and other times she did begrudgingly, to get the things that she needed to do. She was very cold, did not like being down there. It was very demoralizing when she couldn't use utensils, when she had to eat those stupid spaghettios that I feel like
Right, and
I'm having
to the
PTSD
SpaghettiOs, I
from.
actually have a specific question for that one because I know that had played a pretty big role in her mindset as well, right?
Yes, and mine, I can't look at those cans anymore. Yeah, she all the things that happened in that basement. That basement just was hundreds of thousands of words of psychological trauma and breaking and mental abuse, and that I won't give away what certain things are that are down there, but things were covered
Yeah,
that
it got
may or may
pretty
not be
dark
a
for
thing.
sure. And I got most of my inspiration from books, from different shows, The Saw, things like that. Where were you drawing your inspiration while she was locked in that basement? How were you dealing with the psychological impact of the basement at the beginning?
Um, there's a couple psychological studies that were performed of putting people in isolation, people in darkness, what it does to the mind, what it does to just everything, like eyes, voice, body, mind, what being in that kind of situation will do to a person physiologically. So I did a lot of just that kind of research, along with different types of relationships and what a quote unquote victim of a quote unquote abusive relationship goes through in the cycle of power and control and all that
So
sort of stuff, and how typical people behave in those types of situations. May or may not have firsthand experience of such things, which I think, mention at some point somewhere that is kind of where I draw a lot of her stuff from and how she feels cathartic.
and you did research on this story as well. This isn't just being written off the hip. You've taken time to do research on it as well.
Yeah, a lot of it was just going deep down in how long certain things take to happen psychologically. It kind of varies by person, what they see when they're put into darkness, what they think in darkness, what it sounds like, because everybody experiences those things different. The same thing with like what your body does when put under tremendous like cold temperatures, like how your brain begins to shift and almost turn off, and you start to see things and hear things, and everything starts to get wonky. And a lot of times, like people will say they see stars, or they'll see like signal flares out of their vision because their brain is so deprived of light that it's creating its own light.
One of the things that as authors we both wanted to impress was the real danger of her getting pregnant, and we explored this in some depth, um, and so forth. But you really took it to another level with the impact that she came to the realization before he did that there was a real possibility of her getting pregnant by this man that had kidnapped her.
Yeah, so she was terrified for, I guess, multiple reasons. Like, A, she doesn't love him, she doesn't like him. Getting pregnant would have literally been the end of everything that she was holding on to, because how are you supposed to raise a child in a basement with a crazy person? Um, but she's becoming more and more aware of it, and it terrifies her because there's nothing you can do to stop it. And that's the one piece of the whole basement that she cannot control. She can control, in theory, how often he hits her, how he hits her, why he hits her, but that she cannot control.
Right. And then this finally brought up him buying this stuffed pig, which was kind of a turning point for her. And, I did a lot of research regarding this little pig. I did look it up. I looked up the price and stuff, but this had a massive impact on her mentality. And what did she call it again, and why did it have such an impact on her?
So technically, from when Ophelia was created, she actually had a pet pig named Prunella. And that's who the stuffed pig becomes, because Ophelia has this like affinity towards pigs, which is why a lot of times she avoids things like bacon or pork chops, because she just feels so emotionally connected to pigs. Um, why I picked pigs, I don't know, but it's pigs. um, so it's the first comfort object that she's had in this void of cold stone, itchy blanket, pokey mattress, abusive Luke. So it's a soft comfort thingy, and it's being given to her by the person who is abusing her, which then in turn is him using, in theory, using that level of isolation to give her an object that will reinforce that she needs him to survive.
Okay. And she was left alone in the dark for, weeks at a time during this basement scene. And, you know, during this time, it really impacted her. This lack of light, this lack of sound. She started paying attention to things that were, the sounds upstairs. She was almost able to map out the entire upstairs because of how in tune to listening to things she had become. How do you think that kind of continuous darkness would have impacted her overall? Like, how do you think that impacted her?
So psychologically, once you're left in that kind of I can't remember what it's called. You can put people in it now, and people like go places to do it. It's like an anti-sensory chamber, something like that, where you go and there's no sound, there's no light, and you just like lay in a thing of water, so you're not touching anything. And it's supposed to like stimulate the brain in ways that you can't normally reach, which in theory is correct. But she becomes so in tune with what's happening upstairs because she has nothing else to do. Her mind is desperate for something, anything that she can hold on to, that she can count, that she can map, that she can imagine. Um, because as of right now, it's literally just black, and she starts to see things that may or may not be there, hear things that may or may not be there, and she's slowly losing her sense of self and reality, and doesn't know, is he coming down the stairs? Am I hearing things? Is he over here? Is he over there? Am I seeing things coming out of the walls? Like, you lose any semblance of reality after that long and prolonged isolation.
When she was finally given the chance to eat real food instead of these raviolis, these cold raviolis that we'll
Mm.
get to, he did this, and she started to create little mandatory behaviors with it. She started to create little rules, and we'll talk more about those later. But why did she start changing her patterns of behavior when she was given food?
She started performing checking behaviors to figuring out how Luke reacted to certain things, and if she followed her rules that she created, she said that she'd be safe. So if she did the hugs and the kisses and sat a certain way and moved a certain way, those specific routine behaviors would keep her safe. If she did not engage in the behaviors, akin almost like to an OCD, if you don't engage in the behavior, you're risking something horrible happening. And even now, she still has her little things that she needs to do, and it bothers her when she can't, because she
And do
can't
you think that
guarantee.
these were realistic actions that she was taking, or do you believe they were more fantasy based?
Realistic. because she's, I mean, she has not formally broken psychologically. She has in a sense, but she has not had a formal psychotic break. So this is her mind creating coping skills, negative coping skills, I might add, for her to withstand what's happening. It's very typical of an abusive relationship where you'll see a person like, oh, my significant other doesn't like loud noises, so I need to step on certain spots in the house so I don't make him mad or her mad. I need to do certain things in a certain way, otherwise they'll get mad. It's just avoidance tactics to reduce kind of conditioning behaviors.